أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Madam Chair, Commissioners, Lead Counsel, Assistant Counsel, viewers and listeners, members of the press, good morning. Welcome to our daily proceedings of this Commission of Inquiry into Local Government Councils and related matters. Without further ado, I have the honor to yield the floor to Madam Chair for our next item on our today's agenda. Madam Chair, over to you.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I will call on Honorable Sila to lead us in Muslim prayers and Honorable Joyner to lead us in Christian prayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin wa ali Muhammad. مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وآل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما صلى الله تعالى عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Heavenly Father, your word talks about a living hope for things unseen and expectations of things to come. We thank you for another day of life. Lord, we know that the power of life and death is in your hands. Therefore, we believe that neither life nor death could ever separate us from your love. Let this be our motivation, and may it be the compass that defines each step we take today. Thank you for your faithfulness and for giving us hope in our lives. Hope that today will be much better than yesterday and tomorrow will be greater than today. And that we will always dwell in your presence now and forevermore. Amen.
Good morning, Mr. Witness. Yeah, you can face that camera. Welcome to this Commission of Inquiry into Local Government Councils and related matters. Mr. Witness, what is your religion?
Muslim.
In which language do you wish to make your testimony?
Sorry?
In which language do you wish to make your testimony?
In English, please.
Do you wish to swear by the Holy Quran or make an affirmation?
I wish to swear by the Holy Quran, please.
Madam Chair, the witness wishes to swear by the Holy Quran. Okay, hold the Holy Quran by your right hand side. Okay. Now repeat after me. I, Alieu Badara Senghore,
Alieu Badara Senghore,
do swear that
I'll speak the truth,
the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Thank you. You may be kindly seated. Madam Chair, the witness is sworn. I have the honor to hand over the witness to for us to proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Senghore.
Hello, good morning, Madam Chair. How are you?
Fine, Thank you.
Good.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
You may proceed, Council.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. And good morning to all the Commissioners and Secretary. Yes, Mr. Witness, can you give the Commission your full name, please?
Hello. Firstly, good morning to everyone here present as well. My name is Alieu Badara Senghore.
What is your address, Mr. Senghore?
My official address is 1st Street, West Fajara, please.
I'm not sure whether we are, it's very clear. Can we hear the witness clearly?
I can repeat.
Yes. Can you give us your educational background?
I have a master's degree and a bachelor's degree as well, yes.
Yes, just please give us a summary of your educational background.
Educational background, okay, all right, sorry. I have a master's degree in international and development economics. I have a first degree
international and what?
And development economics.
Okay.
I also have a first degree in economics and a minor in information systems, management information systems. I'm also a certified investment professional from the Ghana Stock Exchange as well, yeah.
Right. I am struggling to hear the witness. I don't know why. Is there any reason?
Sorry, may you please confirm if you can hear me well now?
Yes, very well now.
Thank you. All right, so I'll repeat. I have a bachelor's degree in economics and a minor in management information systems. I have a master's degree in international and development economics. And I am a certified investment professional from the Ghana Stock Exchange in Ghana, yes. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you so much. You recall giving a statement to the investigators?
Yes, I do.
We'll give you a copy of the original.
Okay.
Yes. I know you have a copy, but
okay.
You have an original, so you can just go through it. You can take your time.
Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you. I've reviewed the statement.
Thank you very much. We apply to tender the statement of the witness, Alieu Badara Senghore. The date is 25th of September 2024 into evidence as an exhibit.
The witness statement dated the 25th of September 2024 is hereby admitted in evidence as an exhibit, and it is marked as LGC/ABS/KMC/001.
As the Commission pleases. Now, Mr. Senghore, can you tell us about your engagement with KMT, Carnifing Municipal Transport? You have served, I believe, in the board of KMT. Can you please tell us your engagement with KMT, how you were appointed, and the purpose or your role there?
Thank you very much, Lead Counsel. Yes, that's correct. I was a non-executive director of Carnifing Municipal Transport Company Limited.
What does that mean?
So I was on the board of directors, but as a non-executive, so not management. Yeah? Okay, and I also served as the chairman of the board of directors as well. I believe I was, the process started in August 2022. I would like to confirm by the time that the official company was registered, it's back end of, August 2020, sorry.
Yes.
I believe that the registration was around that time. So it's from that time until, I believe, May 2023 that I stepped down from the board.
How were you appointed?
Well, I think I was, I would like to believe, approached by council staff. So I believe this included the Lord Mayor, who had gotten in touch with me. I had also spoken to the CEO, so they reached out, asked me whether, just to gauge my interests, and I confirmed that yes, I would be interested in serving in the role. I was asked to share details of my background and all of that stuff, so I did all of that. And in the end, I think that was the engagement process, and then I went through the process of registering the company and all of the administrative processes thereafter, yes.
Now, so you took part in the company's registration, or?
Sorry?
You took part in the company's registration?
Well, I was on the board from inception. So the company is a startup, so it was registered from inception. So because of that, we were part of the registration process. So we had to, obviously, if you look at the process, you have to give our consent to act as directors.
Yes.
We were the inception directors, so we are signed off on the arts and memos, etc. Yes, so in that sense, I was a signatory to some of the registration documents from the beginning, yes.
Yes. So it is fair to say that the formation of the company, that you took part in it?
Yes.
Right. Now, how many of you?
No, I won't say take part in it, please. I think it's important to clarify for the record. Right?
Okay.
I am a non-executive director, so I took part in it administratively.
Yes.
Right? Because if you consent to act as a director, there are forms that you have to fill and for submissions to the Registrar General. So in that manner, in that process, yes, I participated in it, but I didn't steer it, and I wasn't the convener of it, and I think it's important to clarify. Thank you.
Very well. Now, how many of you were in the board?
I think if you look at the formation agreement of the company, which is the basis of the incorporation,
right.
I believe it was in the MEMS and ARCs, it was 5 directors.
Can we have the names, please?
I think KMC from the beginning was to nominate 4, and Nofly, who was the initial private partner, was to nominate 1. So at incorporation, the 5 directors, per my recollection, were myself, Alieu Badara Senghore,
yes.
Mr. Momoduba, who were the independent directors nominated by KMC.
Yes.
And then we also had KMC representatives on the board, so in the person of the CEO at the time, Madam Seinabu Sonko. Senabu Martin Sonko, yes, that's right. At the time, I believe there was a gentleman who was the transport councillor. I can't remember the first name, but I think it was Drame, the last name,
yes,
as well. And then Nofly had nominated Mr. Zakaria Sow, who was also the inception general manager, managing director, as per the formation agreement. They were supposed to provide the managing director. So he was also on the board, the 5 of us.
And who served as the secretary to the board?
The company secretary, I believe, was the KMC lawyer, which was Ms. Yasin Senghore.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Senghore, what is KMT about?
Well, KMT is a private limited liability company that was incorporated by 2 shareholders at the time, which included KMC,
yes,
and a private company called Nofly. So I think the KMT was set up with a view to offer urban bus service, transport, urban transport, really urban public transport, targeted within the KM area.
Right.
Yeah, so really this was what the company was set up to do, with the initial formation envisaging 2 partners, KMC and an operating partner, who was supposed to be Nofly, a private company called Nofly, yes.
Now, what was Nofly's role? What do they have to play in relation to the formation of or the operation of this company? Is it financial contribution?
Yes, I mean, what I can do is, again, I think as a director, I have information I can give. Again, I can give you direct information from my vantage point as a former non-executive director.
Yes.
So please, there are, I think, direct parties who can provide more direct information who are party to the negotiation. So yes, so for the purposes of the formation agreement and the initial capitalization of the company was capitalized, to my recollection, with a total capital of 77 million.
Yes.
KMC, I believe, was supposed to contribute about 68 or so million, and I think Nofly was supposed to contribute 9 million, something of around that area.
Yes.
And Nofly was also supposed to be the operating partner. So they will be a junior equity partner, and they were also supposed to be the operating partner. So they were supposed to run the company, because from my recollection, Nofly were a company that offered private bus services. So I believe from formation, the idea was that they would bring the expertise
Yes.
required to be able to operate the service, yes.
Now, did No-Fly meet their responsibilities as per the agreement?
No. So per recollection under formation agreement, I don't want to name specific before I make mistakes, but you can, if you do have it, you can reference it. But I do recall No-Fly was supposed to contribute about, I think, 9 million.
Yes,
I believe it was about, yes, I think it was about, supposed to be 3.5 million on signing of the formation agreement.
Yes.
And I believe they were given a year to make the rest of the payment, which was supposed to be 5.5 million.
Yes.
So they never did make any of the contribution, and because of that, the shareholder, which per the entitlement as per the Companies Act, initiated a process for the forfeiture of No-Fly shares, owing to the failure for them to be paid up, fully paid up. So these are provisions within the Companies Act.
So I have the agreement on the 20th of July 2020. Maybe you may, it may help you.
That's the formation agreement you're referencing?
Yes, recollect your thoughts.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, this is indeed the formation agreement, yes.
Yeah, so if you want to be specific, you may go through the figures. I believe they are stated in the agreement.
Yes, so I can, just for the purposes of the record, I can outline what the figures are here. So yes, it was on capitalization, the capital was 77 million. That was with KMC's contribution being 68 million, and No-Fly's contribution was supposed to be 5. And as I had outlined, 3 million on signing, 5.5 spread over the remaining a year.
Thank you. Now, how was No-Fly identified? Do you know?
I do not know.
You do not know.
I was not a party to that
and
process.
And you take part in that.
No.
Do you know whether due diligence was done with No-Fly to know whether they can be able to meet up with their shares?
No, because again, we have to speak on roles, right? That is not my role. You know, that's a role that because there are roles that a shareholder has, and there are roles that.
No, I now ask you what you know. So you may have a role and have an information about.
Yes,
things.
I do not.
Just hear me out.
Sorry, my apologies. Sorry.
You may have a role and then have an information.
Yes.
And something may not be directly your role, but you may have an information by virtue of you being the board chair. So when you don't have an information, probably just answer that you don't have information about it.
Well noted, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
Again, I repeat, do you know whether due diligence was done with No-Fly?
No, I do not know.
Thank you. Now, the other issue is you were supposed to receive subvention, you call it, from KMC, is that correct?
Well, I will not call it a subvention. So KMC made a commitment to provide the capital into the company.
Yes.
Yeah. So I can read out what is here,
Please,
if that's okay. So KMC's 68 million equity contribution was supposed to be made of the following.
Right.
There was going to be a 5 million, so 25 million in cash.
Yes.
That was supposed to be paid out over a period of 5 years,
Right.
5 million a year, right? Which is going to be capitalized, so not a subvention, but an equity contribution.
Right.
There were plans to offer the KMC annex as a central depot for the management of the buses.
Correct.
So rent was capitalized and prepaid in effect as capital, and it was supposed to be 1 million a year over a period of 5 years. So that's 5 million. So that's
Right.
making it 30 million. And then the idea at the time was to use the, I think, you know, it's the Westfield Monument,
Yes.
right? Which, per the reports we received from KMC at the time, was land that was owned by KMC, even though, from my recollection, was still, title was held by Ministry of Lands.
Yes.
So the idea of KMC was to apply to secure title and contribute that towards the project, and the idea was that will be the central exchange terminal, so where the buses would meet and transfer, etc. So that property was valued at the time at 37.935 million.
Who valued?
I can't recall. I don't have the information. I think I may have come across it. It may have been Sphinx. I can't recall. So please, let me not try to give a name, but I know that it was valued by a reputable company. I think I did see that valuation report as well, but I cannot recall who exactly did the valuation of that.
If you are given time, will you be able to find out?
No, because I do not have access to that information. You know, I do not. I'm not, as I said, my role didn't involve in any involvement in that. Yeah, so I came in at the back end of that. But I do recall that that was done because we had to do follow-up as the board on the status of the land transfer. And obviously because of that, we did see some of these documents. So, but again, I know that there was a valuation that was done because that valuation is needed if you're going to assign a financial value to an asset and contribute it.
Right.
If it wasn't, the auditors would never have allowed that. So I know that was done for a fact. So that was KMC's contribution, the 37. So on all, that should have totaled 68 million. And Nofly, as I had already mentioned, was supposed to be 9 million, 3.5 and then 5.5.
Yes. So towards this commitment, did you receive any amount from KMC?
Yes, so on inception, KMC had capitalized the company, made the first payment of 5 million, which up till my tenure was the only contribution that was ever made to the company, up to the end of my role at the company, yes.
So what were the other sources of income for?
No, we didn't have any income because the company never started operations. So really, from the time I started, I was there, we were in the process of setting up the company, and really the main activity was to fundraise so that we could start operations, yes.
Did you do fundraising?
Yes, we did a lot of activities around fundraising, yes.
Can you please tell us what activities you did in relation to fundraising?
Well, I mean, we had, there are set processes that's outlined in there. So the initial idea, and I think maybe I will have to go back a little bit. After the initial thinking, as it was outlined, was that you'd have KMC and a private partner who were going to come in and put in the capital.
Right.
Obviously, with the requirement, the initial investment that was done to order the initial fleet, I think if those funds were forthcoming, the company at least would have been in a position the idea was to launch a pilot, right? To be able to fund a pilot. So when that broke down, when that didn't happen, and Nofly fell through, the shareholders was actively engaged in trying to find a private partner or potentially look for some financing arrangement. So in that process, obviously the board played a role, including executive management. So really, as I said, the activity of the board was to set up the company. So a lot of our initial work, setting up the policies, doing the recruitment, and then working on the business plan. And out of that, engagements were done to hire people to prepare documents that will facilitate the fundraising process. So that was done. And I know that there were various engagements that were had with banks. I can name some. Zenith Bank, Access Bank were the ones that come to mind. I think even Reliance at a particular time. Indirectly, yes, Reliance. And
you saw the financial facility about $50 million or thereabout?
Yes, I believe so. That was the time to do the pilot.
Right.
And then there was also engagements had with potential private equity partners as well.
So what happened with the financial facility that you sought with these banks or these financial institutions?
No, we weren't able to close any lending facility.
Any reason?
I mean, I can fathom some guesses, but I think at least on this unit.
Again, you said you can what?
I mean, I cannot speak for the institutions and why, and the reasons as to why. I think they are the only ones who can be in a position to provide that.
No, you had a point where you were seeking for financial
assistance.
Correct?
Yes.
So you are in a position to tell us why, if it was rejected, tell us it was rejected and these were the reasons. The bank would always tell you why they would not give you a facility.
Yes.
That would be the standard procedure.
Yes.
So you would be in a position to know.
Yeah, which is, and agreed, and I think that is where I was coming to. So, but I think it's important to qualify first that the bank will be the person who can give you the factual information as to why. But what I can tell you
that's the point I don't agree with. Listen, again, let me repeat. As the board chair, you sought for financial facility from these banks, and you presented probably documents. You had engagements with the banks. If you were rejected, the bank will tell you why you were rejected, and that's why we are asking you. What we will ask the bank will really depend on whether we think is really necessary or not.
Then, sorry, lead counsel, then if I can rehash your question so I understand it. Then, in that sense, your question is, what reason was provided by the bank for not giving to us? I can answer that question.
Please.
Proceed. Okay, thank you. So, as outlined, the company shareholders made capital commitments which were unfulfilled. So the banks effectively gave us what they call draft offer letters, but all of that would have required for KMC to put in at least some of the capital requirements, right? And I think if I remember at the time with Access Bank was 10 million. And I believe Zenith Bank and all of those, it was that kept on coming. That continued to be the deal breaker where came, because you know how, like from my understanding of how banks work, they don't want to finance all projects. The shareholder has to have skin in the game. So because of that, when the
shareholder has to have what?
You have to also take some of the risk. So that means if a bank is giving you a loan, they will not finance 100% of the project. They would at least want some of your money going into it. And I think the idea with the pilot at the time was that KMC, the shareholder at the time, would be able to contribute at least $10 million into it as well. So those were the reasons why at least we couldn't close loan financing from the banks.
Was 10 million not available, or that amount?
Well, I can say it's not available because it was never paid to KMT. So it was never available to KMT. I can at least speak for KMT. I cannot speak for KMC, but that 10 million was never paid into KMT and was never made available to KMT, yes.
Did you write to KMC?
Yes, we have, yes.
And then did they respond?
Yes, so we've always had, I cannot flag any specific correspondences, but we wrote, the managing director wrote officially, and also KMC has representatives on the board.
Yes.
So this came up repeatedly in our board meeting minutes, where that the board made repeated urgings for those funds to be provided so that we could at least close financing.
No, but did KMC write back when you wrote?
KMC, I cannot recall, sir.
You cannot recall.
I cannot recall, sir.
Again, we will give you time. You may have access to the documents that we have to pinpoint some of the things that you're talking about. You can list with the registrar. We want to know as to why the company was set up, and up to today it is not up and running, and probably you'll be in the position to help us. So if, for instance, based on your evidence, it appears as if what was holding the financial contribution or the financial commitment from the bank to aid you start your pilot project would have been to have KMC through KMC to meet up with part of their financial obligations, correct?
Well, that is what and again, the banks never wrote officially to us, per my recollection, specifically pinpointing that, hey, we didn't accept your offer because of this. This is all verbal, right? Communication that we've sent, that we have. Now,
why would you have a communication that's verbal, Mr. Senghore?
Sorry?
Why would you have a communication that is verbal?
No, we don't have communication. Of course you have communication that's verbal, Lil Council. So if you're doing any engagements, you have verbal communication and you have official communication.
True.
Yes,
Go
so
ahead.
So we have official communication from the bank.
Yes.
Now what I'm saying is
very specific in this on this issue regarding as to the reason why you would not be given the finances from the bank.
Yes.
It should be official communication.
Yes, but I don't recall ever any of these banks that we've engaged, and I can name them: Zenith Bank, Access Bank,
yes,
and Reliance Financial Services,
yes,
ever officially writing back to KMC, indicating that, hey, we officially haven't, rejected your application. So I cannot recall per my recollection.
So then how do you know it was rejected?
Well, I would say it was not rejected because they never got back to us in most cases. And as I said, this is where it became a lot of verbal follow-ups, where you would be following up with them verbally, and they didn't get back. So what you would then do, obviously, is you have relationships with the account managers. You call them and they're like, hey, you know, but maybe this is the reason why. So that is my recollection, but I cannot give you anything officially written as to why.
But that would not be proper. That's my point. That would not be proper if you wrote or you've engaged the bank for financial assistance.
Proper as to whose estimation?
Proper as to standard procedure.
No, but
Mr. Senghore, you wrote to the bank. You engaged the bank formally to have a financial assistance. You expect to have a formal reply. That is standard procedure. So you had given evidence in the commission to say that you know through your verbal communication that probably this would have been the reasons as to why they will not approve.
No, but lead counsel, I beg to differ.
Yes.
Because what you are submitting as standard procedure, I beg to differ. I don't agree that it's standard procedure.
Are you saying that the bank does not have to respond to you formally?
The bank, and I was a banker, so I can speak as to my experience here as well. But that question you're asking, I believe that it's something that the bank can speak to. So what I do...
As a director?
So what I can speak to...
I get that. As a director...
No, if I can land,
as a director, just hear me out. As a director, I get your point. As a director, would it not be better for the records to have the reply from the bank, since you wrote to the bank formally and then you were seeking for a facility? Would it not be better to have the record clear in writing as to why, if it is rejected, as to why it is rejected?
So, lead counsel, there are two things here I would like to say.
Right.
For the collection of records. So firstly, per my submission, I said per my recollection, I do not recall any communication. So one, there may have been communication that was directed to executive management, which I am not aware of. So I can only speak as to my recollection. That's the first. No. Please let me land.
Now you're coming. So now, was the executive management ever set up?
May I please land on the second point?
Go ahead.
Which was, I think, the insinuation that you made that it is standard operating procedure. I disagree. And the reason I say that is, what is material to me as a director is that I receive an offer letter from the bank. That's an official document, right? You, as someone who's an investment professional and who's run different fundraising activities, it is normal. You engage people, sometimes a response is a quiet no, and then you move on. So I think what I can say is, it may have been written, it may have been email communication, which I'm not aware of, but what I can confirm is that we never signed off on an offer letter. We did repeated follow-ups, and myself, I was part of the follow-up, where I would call MDs, etc. And after a time, we discussed as a board and decided, hey, this is not forthcoming, let's explore other options. So I think it's important to...
Do you have a copy of the offer letter?
We never received an offer letter, that's what I'm saying. An offer letter is that your application was successful, and this is it. So that is my core recollection, and we never...
Do you have a copy of that?
We haven't received one. We never received an offer letter.
I want to get you clear.
Yes.
You received an offer letter, or you did not receive an offer letter?
We didn't receive an offer letter.
So what were you trying to say? I did not get what you were trying to say.
So what I'm saying is, what is standard operating procedure is, if your application is accepted, that you would receive, either you receive an offer letter or you would not receive an offer letter, right? So maybe executive management followed up on the loop to close it out, where they got an official email that, hey, we are not offering you a facility. I do not have any recollection of that. I cannot speak to that.
So you don't have a recollection of whether the executive management received an offer letter or not?
I cannot. But
were you in a position as a board to know whether the executive management received an offer letter or not?
Yes, because if we receive an offer letter, yes, it will come. We will have to approve that facility, because then that would be a formal offer of financing from the bank. Yes.
So since you haven't, as a board chair and the board, you haven't had communications with the executive management regarding offer letters being received from the bank.
We never.
Come again?
Please go ahead, sir.
No, you can proceed.
No, yes, just to confirm, we never received a formal offer letter, yes.
Yes. So that again is my point. Now, the communications you've had with your relationship with probably the bank or the accounts clerks or whoever you're working with regarding the commitment from KMT or KMC, the 10 million or thereabout,
yes,
was purely verbal.
Yes, so it's a lot of verbal follow-ups as to that, right? And again, there are certain things, if I write, it's an opinion. I don't want to speak as to the why the bank or maybe they didn't. Yeah, but at least from my vantage and my recollection, I also myself, in my role, followed up with the banks, followed with the MDs, relationship managers, and also by those conversations, I was seeing that, yes, an offer letter would not be forthcoming, and what the challenges with the facility were the challenges that were raised.
So there are no follow-ups, official follow-ups, with respect to your official communication with the banks?
No, there was numerous official follow-ups, but again, this is what is done by executive management. So the general managers would hold this on a day-to-day basis. So definitely I know there was follow-ups that was done with the banks.
What is your relationship with the executive management? The board?
The relationship with the executive management, sorry, please, may you please clarify? How do you mean?
The board and the executive management, what is the relationship?
Well, the role of the board is one that is provided for by law.
Yes.
So, yes, so the board, so really the role of the board is to provide governance oversight on the operations of the company.
Right.
Set the policies, recruit executive management,
right,
etc., etc. So I think these are detailed in law. Sometimes also specified additionally in shareholders agreements, etc.
Right.
Yes.
Now, what is the role that you have with the executive management?
I've mentioned some.
You haven't mentioned any, Mr. Senghore. You've told me that the role of the board is provided by law and so on. But
yes,
I want to know,
I told you.
Your setup you have, the KMT.
Yes.
You serve as the board chair.
Yes.
And you have the executive management. You have drawn a distinction between
yes,
what your role is and that you don't form part of the executive management. But I now ask you, in relation to your daily functions, what is the working relationship, what is the role that you have with executive management?
So I will repeat as outlined. The board is responsible for, I mentioned some, policies of the bank, of the company.
Yes.
Coming up with that, right? Recruiting executive management is coming up with that, and representing the interest of shareholders on it. So this is the regular oversight of the company. So through regular board meetings and reporting channels that are set up to allow for that. So really this is a broad summary of the core roles that the board played at
Does anyone sit when you're having board meetings at the level of the board from the executive management? Any?
Yes. So as outlined in the beginning, the managing director was an executive director.
All right.
So that's Zakaria Sow. So he was also part of the board. So he sat. When he was not there, the executive management are not members of the board. So they are non-voting. They cannot vote on any issues. However, general managers sometimes sit through, if not all, but a lot of the agenda items that are discussed at that level, because they present a significant amount of the papers that are also presented at the board. So really that is the role. But in terms of authority, executive, we didn't have, when Zakaria Sow left, we didn't have another executive director. So officially the management that took over were general managers and not managing directors.
Now, it was difficult to secure any financial commitment from any bank or financial institution, and this has gone on for quite a period of time since you left the KMT. And how long have you served as board chair?
I served from board chair as outlined from the official registration of the company. 2020 until May 2023.
And throughout this period, you have not had any financial support or commitment from any financial institution?
No.
And the only amount of money that you've had is the 5 million from KMT?
Yes.
Then why was there the need to still be in operation from 2020 to 2023?
That is a call of the shareholder. That's not my call.
No, it's not the call of the shareholder.
It is.
No, why would you say that? You
no,
were assigned a role. You were working. So what were you doing during this period?
Supporting an agenda to raise finance for the company.
It was not possible.
And also to prepare the documentation that was supposed to guide the operation.
Yes, but most importantly, to have the finance for operation.
Exactly.
It wasn't possible. 2020, not possible. 2021, not possible. 2022, not possible. 2023, not possible.
Yes.
So, what were you waiting for?
No, when you say impossible, you say it as a statement of fact, which is incorrect.
It is a fact, Mr. Senghore.
No, lead counsel.
It is
Please, lead counsel.
You had said that I'm saying it as a statement of fact. Now, if it is a non-factual statement, you may offer an evidence to show that in fact that was not the case.
No, what you are saying, lead counsel, is an opinion. Right. What is a statement of fact is that we haven't managed to secure financing. That's a statement of fact.
You have managed to?
What is a statement of fact is that the company, at least I was aware when I left, had not managed to secure financing. That's a statement of fact.
So what is not a
I
statement?
agree. Now what you said, if I can rehash,
Yes.
was that it is impossible. That's your opinion.
For the period.
That's, no.
Hear me out. And then again, Mr. Senghore, you can.
Sorry, let me clarify. Mr. Senghore, I believe Council said that I did not hear him say impossible. I think what I heard him say was that finances were not secured in 2021, 22, and 23.
Yes.
Not impossible. He said, what I heard him say was that the securing of the funding was not possible in 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023.
Yes.
Yes. Is that correct?
Yes. So, per that understanding.
Yes, I just want to have
Yes.
it correct.
Yes.
Because I heard you say impossible.
Yes. So, thank you very much for the clarification. So, from my understanding, for the clarification was that the company did not manage to secure financing. Yes, which
Yes.
I confirm.
Yes.
That's not correct.
That is my understanding.
Yes, so that is
what it
correct.
is.
That is correct. That the company, till that time, did not manage to secure financing.
Yes.
Yes, so that is correct. Thank you.
Council, you may proceed.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairperson. Again, correctly said, for the period 2020, 2021, 2023, it was virtually impossible, because if it was possible, there would have been finances.
Again, sorry.
I was addressing the Commission. And now we proceed to other issues, Mr. Senghore. Now, there was a period that you have received, if you turn to your statement on the second page, I believe. There was a withdrawal of $1.5 million, second page, last paragraph, $1.5 million, the transaction may be used. You wrote on the issue of the withdrawal of $1,500,000, this transaction may be related to the account that was opened with Access Bank in support of an application for financing from Access Bank. That was an amount that was withdrawn from the Access Bank, I believe. Now, can you please shed more light on that withdrawal? It is in your statement.
Sorry, I will clarify. How you framed it is incorrect. There were no funds that were withdrawn. So there were funds that were transferred from AGIP to a new account that was opened.
Can the witness be given
with Access
statement,
Bank,
please?
I have my statement, lead counsel, is right here.
I know.
Yes.
The procedure of the Commission is you follow instructions. So when I say you should be given a statement, you just listen and you'll be given a statement.
My apologies, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, please turn to page 2 of the statement. The last paragraph.
Yes.
Can you please read?
On the issue of the withdrawal of 1.5 million.
We can't hear you. Please speak to the microphone.
Sorry, on the issue of the withdrawal of the $1.5 million, this transaction may be related to the account that was opened with Access Bank in support of an application for financing from Access Bank to fund an order of 16 buses from Tata in Senegal. This agreement never materialized, and the decision was taken to close the account at Access Bank and use the funds to open accounts with Zenith Bank and Reliance Financial Services, who the company had also engaged around possible funding of the proposed order of 16 buses.
Am I correct to use the word withdrawal?
No.
It's in your statement.
Again, I qualify, it's my statement.
Thank you.
So that the funds were not withdrawn, they were transferred. So if you say they were withdrawn from Ajib Bank and transferred up and credited to a new account with Access Bank, I agree.
Thank you very much. Yes, you can use the statement. Now, please tell us about this particular withdrawal and why was it necessary and what was the money for?
I will speak on the transfer of the funds to a new account. So,
Mr. Again, Mr. Senghore, I go by your statement. If you choose to use any word that may replace withdrawal, you may do so.
Well noted.
Your statement is admitted in evidence as an exhibit. So please explain to us what was the reason for the withdrawal. Go ahead.
Well noted. So I think, again, lead counsel, please correct me if I'm wrong. It's my statement. Whenever I feel that it may be not represented in the right context, tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel it's important that I clarify. It's a public commission. We are watched by the whole country. Definitely it's important that we contextualize it properly. So again, I report the funds were used to open a new account.
Mr. Senghore, let me just tell you something. You are educated. We asked about your educational background. You haven't, just hear me out, please.
Yes, sir.
We asked about your educational background. I gave you the statement to go through. You went through the statement. I asked you to take your time and go through your statement. You've signed the statement. You've owned up to the statement. And I am not concerned about nomenclatures or words that may probably look alike. I'm just reading from your statement. And I had said that if you choose to replace the word, for a better explanation, you may go ahead. So
Well
it's
noted.
about the context. Please proceed.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay, so again, as I said, we had numerous engagements with a number of banks to explore raising financing for the bus order transfer. As hinted at the statement, Access Bank was not forthcoming. So it is standard procedure that if you want to raise financing with a bank, you first have to open an account. So we needed, when we'd had initial conversations with banks to see if they were open to considering the asset financing structure we were looking at. Once those initial conversations were had, we initiated the process to open accounts, because they cannot consider the merits of your application until you are formally a client of the bank. So what we did was, when we tried with Access Bank, it didn't work. A decision was made by the board that we should explore, sorry, can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so a decision was made to explore funding options with other banks, and owing to that decision, I believe we opened two accounts, Zenith Bank and Reliance Financial Services, I remember. And those funds, which is 1.5 million, was split. I can't remember the exact amounts, but some went to Zenith, some went to Reliance Financial Services.
Was this a bank-to-bank transfer, or did you withdraw the amount in?
No, this should be by RTGS, bank transfer.
RTGS.
Yes.
Were you usually audited every year?
Yes, so we have audited accounts. As to the period of my tenure, I believe auditors were Augustus Prom. Yeah? So we did have audited accounts. The last financial year where I was responsible effectively for seeing this process was 2022. So until I left, we had audited accounts for the 18-month period, because the year end, the company started, I won't say operations, but it was registered at the back end of 2020. So we created audit accounts to also factor for that. So we have audited accounts from inception until I left my role, yes.
Now, the banks would not give you loan or financial facility?
Yes.
During the period you were at the board. What were the other options of raising funds for?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so the other options, as I mentioned, we also explored private equity options as well. So this is engaging potentially individuals or similar operators to Nofly to see. Again, these are engagements that were led by the shareholder. The board got involved whenever we needed to be in a position to provide information, to facilitate some of these conversations. So my recollection of this is from that vantage point. I do recall, I think the most advanced conversation I recall was from a company that came from Rwanda. I think it was called Kigali. I can't recall the exact name of the company. They even flew into country. We had a number of meetings with them. And all of that was with a view towards securing potentially a private equity partner who could also come in, who also had the management expertise. I know with the Kigali bus service, that was the thinking. They also had years of proven expertise who could come in and support management from day one, yes.
Are these engagements captured in writing?
Yes, board minutes. So all of this, there's nothing that we didn't do that you won't capture in the board minutes.
I mean, your communications with these private equity firms?
All of that, and if not, it will be captured in the emails of executive management. Again, as I said, they were the ones who are principally holding this relationship and steering it. So there's definitely official communication, and there's also...
Can we have access to these emails?
I cannot speak to that. Again, as I said, I am not in a position, because I am no longer a director of the company. I would believe that probably the best person would be to engage the company secretary for any company-related documentation.
Have you had personally any email correspondences with any private equity firms or any individual investor to possibly raise funds for the effective or smooth running of the company?
Yes, so I was, as I said, copied in some of this email by dint of my role as a director, myself and other directors. So there is some communication in this regard that I have via email. But again,
were you using your personal email or an official email?
Personal for the most part. So KMT did set up an official email address and a website actually, but unfortunately we had a very sad incident that the gentleman that had prepared it passed away sadly. So we couldn't, there was a time when when we wanted to renew the hosting rights, we couldn't, because he was a one-man business, unfortunately. So we couldn't get access to that, and in the end we had to defer to using personal email accounts.
Why would the KMT have a contract with a one-man business?
Sorry?
Any reason why would they have a contract or engagement with a one-man business firm?
Because really if you look at, because KMT, one of the things that was always front of mind is to maximize resourcing, public resourcing.
But still, the risk is high.
Yes, so...
That is what you're demonstrating today, the risk is high.
No, but
so the demise of the individual would probably have...
If I can?
The demise of the individual would probably create a scenario like what you were saying.
Yes, so we engaged, the management at the time engaged someone who offered the services really at a very cut price rate, if I could say, but he gave us the value that we needed. So this was management's decision. As I said, even if you look at the policy guidance.
You supervise the management.
Yes, but there are levels of authority. So
you supervise the management, Mr. Senghore.
Yes.
So you cannot divorce management's activities from the board.
Yes.
You supervise the management.
Yes.
Whatever management does.
Yes.
Should be scrutinized
by
the board. That is the primary role of the board of directors.
Yes.
You understand that? And now you had explained as to the cost involved and so on and so forth. But again, with the risk involved as well, dealing with an individual, correct? For the management activities in relation to what you were explaining, the individual that passed away.
Yes.
The risk was high. It should have been known from the beginning. Is that not the case?
Lead counsel, I will agree with your point, but I think you would also recognize that companies, big to small, deal with various suppliers. Some big, some small, right? And I think this is just the reality of business. Depending on how much you're paying for a service, your budget, etc., you have. So if I can land, sir, that, and I think everybody who's watching can make that qualification. Companies from big to small deal with various suppliers. It so happened that the supplier who prepared our website was an individual sole proprietor who unfortunately passed away, and when he passed away, some of the downside of that was that some of his business couldn't continue.
Is it fundamental to do a risk assessment?
No, not on that matter. Why?
Is it fundamental to do a risk assessment?
No.
You sit here, you're saying it's fundamental to do a risk assessment?
Can I qualify, sir?
Go ahead.
So, governance, right, there's a manner and there's a way. So even if you look at executive governance, how companies work, you have different levels of authority. Even if you have even for a startup company, the board doesn't handhold management.
Let me repeat again.
Can I finish my question,
Go
please,
ahead.
sir? Can I finish my answer, please, sir? So and I'll be very specific. KMT, every spending that was done was informed by policy. The first thing that the board did, even before we spent a butut, was ensure that there was policy in place for financing, for admin, for everything. So even if you look at that policy, there are thresholds that it sets for procurements
Now,
that
back to
can
my
be
question.
approved, that the managing director.
Hear me out. Back to my question. Was not my question. Now, let me ask again. Is it important to engage in risk assessment?
Yes, it is.
Good. Now, in that case, was the risk high risk or not? Would you classify it as a high risk dealing with an individual?
No.
It's not a high risk.
No.
Why is that?
If now I can get to my point, yes, which is that if you look at the contract amount, risk, you have various categories of risk. So even though, yes, the loss of the website was because he passed away, from our vantage point as a board, we give, there's management, there's authority, various levels of authority that's given to management. When I look at it, and I use the example from a financial procurement point of view, I can't recall exactly what the contract amount was, but if I recall right, it may have been $15,000 or $10,000.
What was the name?
So that contract amount, per our policy, was within the purview of the manager. So executive management could make that decision without seeking board approval. Standard.
What was the name of the individual that passed away?
I cannot, from my recollection, I think the gentleman was Ajalo. Was it Lamarana Ajalo? I can't recall.
What was it contracted to do?
To build website and host our website and email and KMT email.
Was he paid?
He was, yes.
Was the contract, did he perform his side of the contract?
He did, yes.
In full?
He did in full, yes.
In full.
Yes.
So you guys have a website?
The website was up. As I said, you have to host it every year. You have to pay the fee. So eventually, unfortunately, may he rest in peace, he passed away. So we couldn't continue to host it. So because of that, the website had to come down. So that's the reason why the website and the email came down.
Did you engage any other contractor?
No, because it was not seen as a high priority spend. Because I think the idea was maximize resourcing, spend it where, the company wasn't even operational. So I think those would have been nice to have once the company was operational.
Now you used, back to the issue, you use your email, your personal email for the most part.
Yes, that's correct.
Have you used any official email at any point before your resignation?
My resignation?
Before your resignation, or before you were no longer serving at the board.
Did I use the official?
Any official email?
From the KMT? Yes, a few times. I did use it a few times. But again, what I clarify is that official email was set up more for executive management.
Yes.
And it's standard practice, directors don't have company-provided email addresses. It's a nice to have, but I can fathom that most companies don't do it. So it was not, I am a director, it would have been nice to have it where all information is on company control servers, but it was not a necessity for me to have an official email address as a non-executive director.
Can you avail us with the email correspondences you've had in your personal email, your personal and official email in relation to KMT?
All emails?
Yes, in relation to KMT.
Yes, that can be done.
So it's also correct to say, even with your engagements with private equity firms or individual investors that you may have engaged in relation to the running of the company, that also did not materialize during the period you served?
No, that didn't materialize as well.
Is there any reason?
Well, I cannot provide any reasons. As I said, I wasn't the main driver of these conversations.
What do you mean when you are saying you're not the main driver?
Because these are conversations that are driven at the shareholder level. Because it's shareholders who own companies and who decide what partners they choose to bring on. I am not a shareholder. I was a director, not a shareholder.
So for 3 years or thereabout, as a board chair, you do not have information about the smooth running of the company. You don't know whether funds would be secured for the running of the company for 3 years. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I do have information. I have information that what I have, I'm sharing. What I don't have, I cannot share.
No, in relation to having finances for the company.
I have answered that question, sir.
No, do you have information where you actively involved as the board chair and member of the board in relation to securing finances for the smooth running of the company?
Again, I will clarify, I will reiterate, I played a role, as I have already outlined, in providing support to...
The second question I ask you is a very simple question.
I am answering.
And let me repeat again.
Please go ahead.
My question. Do you have information in relation to the active participation of the company KMT in securing funds for the smooth running of the company?
As confirmed, I have some information that filtered to my level, yes, on fundraising activity, yes, of KMT.
Is it not correct that based on your oversight function as the board, you would have had, you were in a position to have every information in relation to the activities of the company to know its direction? You direct the company.
Again, please don't create a misconception, lead counsel. That's not correct.
Let me correct you again for the last time, Mr. Senghore. So when I ask you a question, and it will only happen for the last time, when I ask you a question, please answer to the best of your ability. You don't correct my statements. You don't talk back at me.
Well,
so when I ask you a question, if you can answer the question and you have information to share with the commission, please answer the question. Right?
Well noted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, let me rephrase again. As the board that you have served in as a board chair, were you actively involved in securing finances for the smooth running of the company, KMT?
I was involved in fundraising processes for KMT.
Now, what would you say were the main reasons from 2020 up to the time 2023 that you left the company? How would you describe the main reason as to why it was probably either impossible, not possible, or not, it was not material to secure funds for the operation of the company?
Again, I will repeat from the answer that I provided earlier. It will be so I can speak on the vantage point on the fundraising we did with the banks. My belief is that because KMT did not meet the planned capitalization that the shareholders set, I feel that that was a material limitation in limiting the ability to be able to raise funds. Now, as regards private equity, I do not really have a view as to why they were not in the end interested in, because that is, again, speaking on their behalf. They were provided with information, and they, for whatever reason, they have their own investment requirements and reasons for investments. So I had never received any letter, any direct stipulation as to we are not invested because of this or because of that.
Good. So now we don't have, as a company, there is no way forward. The banks would not give you money. KMC wouldn't commit enough funds to help or aid you in relation to securing funds. Was there any other way?
At least not that I'm aware of, yes.
Then why still have the company up and running?
It's not my call, sir.
I know it's not your call. Do you think it is viable to have the company up and running, regardless of the fact that there is no light at the end of the tunnel? There is no hope that funds will be secured based on your professional experience?
So, two things. Based on my professional experience, which you have sought, I disagree that there was no hope that funds would not be forthcoming. So, just for the record. And secondly, KMT, as I said, KMC is the shareholder. From my little understanding of the processes around that, the decision to set up KMT was a general council resolution. So that means that all the councillors who are elected representatives who campaign secure power and have an agenda. So I can only fathom that the councillors and the people at the council who wanted to do KMT were committed to it because of commitments that they have taken to their constituents. I can only fathom. Now, as to at the board level where I can speak, directors, we continue to be engaged. Why? Because KMT, from KMC, let me speak to that, from official and reports given to the board, continued to be committed to meeting its capital requirements, albeit outlining financial limitations. So obviously, as the directors, I can speak for myself, I can speak for, in that sense, I can speak for other directors, because this is something that also came up at repeated board meetings, where we would outline the importance of KMC meeting its capital commitments to KMT, and how that limits our ability to be able to fundraise and launch the pilot. And again, which can be confirmed in the minutes, we would always get urgings and reassurances from KMC of their commitment to the project.
But it has not been coming forth, Senghore. Is that not the case?
But that's, again, so now you are diverging to a point of opinion. So in your opinion, I have a different opinion.
Don't.
Step in, please. Let me just ask Mr. Senghore this question. I just want to be clear as to what point you stepped down as non-executive director.
Yes.
You have told the commission that the KMT was incorporated around August 2020.
Yes, Madam
And
Chair.
from what period of time were you managing it as a non-executive director?
Yes, so we had our inception meeting happened in 2020. So the first meeting happened in 2020.
Yes.
So thereafter, we met actually monthly for the first year, from 2021 all the way till I left. Initially, we were meeting monthly, and then after we were meeting quarterly.
No, Mr. Senghore, my question is, your role in KMT
Yes,
is twofold.
yes,
The first role was when you acted as a non-executive director.
yes.
In essence, what I'm trying to find out is that as non-executive director, you were managing the activities of the company.
No, we weren't managing the executive, because we were never company executives.
Yes.
Yes, so we had always,
As at the time you were executive director, did you have...
I was a non-executive director.
You were a non-executive
Non-executive
director. Did
director.
you have an executive director at that point?
In the beginning,
Yes.
with the initial formation, it was Zakaria Saul. So he was an executive director.
He was managing the affairs of the company.
He was, yes.
And then reporting to the board.
Reporting to the board.
As at that time, who was the board chair?
I was the board chair
You were
throughout.
the board chair.
Yes.
You were the board chair from August to
May.
to May 2023.
That's correct.
When you left.
That's correct.
Now, on the issue of the capitalization,
Yes.
you talked about the equity shares.
Yes.
Now, my question is, at what point did you recapitalize the company and issued some shares to the former CEO, Senghore Martin? And what was the consideration from the board to offer Senghore Martin a share in the company?
So here, Madam Chair, I won't be in a position to answer that question, because I was not involved in the reorganization of the company in that sense. So what happened, as I outlined, was
Okay, for you to help me understand.
Yes.
At what point did you recapitalize the company?
So the company, when there was a forfeiture of
And
the...
when was that? Which year was
I
that?
believe it was in April, sometime in April 2021. This was no fly.
Okay.
Yeah, because it wasn't too long after, because by April, per my recollection, April 2021, the forfeiture process was more or less complete, and then you effectively had unallocated shares from Nofly. Allocation was never done because they never were fully paid up. So thereafter, the shareholder, which is KMC, went and re-registered. So there was a process that happened. So maybe yes. So that is when that happened. It is around that time. So really, if I'm honest,
As at that time, you were the board chair.
yes, I was.
Yes. So for the reallocation of the shares to happen,
Yes.
it has to go to the board, for the board to meet and say, we are reallocating the shares based on the fact that, we have the transactions between the contractual relationship between Nofly and KMC, which I believe were the two original shareholders.
Yes, so...
Or were there any shareholders, aside from KMC having 68, having to put in 68, and Nofly having to put in 9 million?
No, so it was only
KMC and Nofly.
And Nofly. Yes. And, I mean, again...
so now coming back to my question.
Yes.
When you were reallocating the shares,
yes,
was that not taken to the board for the consideration of the board?
I cannot say I recall that. I can't recall, and I can't recall per my whether a share allotment, the role that we played. I can't recall playing a role in that now.
But given your background,
yes,
you think a company can allot shares without holding any meeting, whether it is an in situ meeting or
I think
a direction by the board?
Yes. So which meeting are you specifically referring to? Are you making
for the purpose of allotting the shares?
A meeting of shareholders?
Yes.
Well, you know, a meeting of shareholders is, we are not a party to a meeting of shareholders, madam. We have directors meet, so that allotment is the role that shareholders play.
Okay.
So that is not within the power of the board to participate in that. Now, what I do know is that in the Companies Act, you cannot have one person own a company. So that means that any limited liability company needs to have a minimum of 2 shareholders. So
I just wanted...
Yes, so
my challenge is, I just wanted to understand,
yes,
what was your understanding,
yes,
when shares were allotted?
Yes.
That is when the KMT reallocated the shares.
Yes.
Whether you were aware. And what, if I could go further,
yes,
what were you briefed on? Because
yes,
you're saying the shareholders,
yes,
you understand, which I do agree with you.
Yes.
They are the ones that will sit and meet,
yes,
and reallocate whatever shares
that's right,
they have, depending on what transpired.
That's right.
But then as the chair of the board of
yes,
that company,
yes,
you think it is, do you believe that you needed to know what was the process and how they allotted the shares?
So, thank you. So, just to provide clarification,
yes,
the arrangement that we have, the understanding that the directors had with KMC was that those shares, because the idea, KMC was looking to find a private partner. So the idea was that once Nofly couldn't take up these shares, those shares were going to be eventually allotted to a private partner if one is subsequently secured. So this is the arrangement, the understanding, which is the foundational principle from the setup of the company. And that understanding to us, the level of directors, had not changed. The only thing that changed was that the initial targeted partner, which we had no role in coming to.
No, but Mr. Senghore, I beg to disagree, because if you say that idea was not changed, the shares were re-allotted.
Yes.
To that could not. Well, what I want to understand is, what was the consideration in granting, for instance, the share to Senghore Martin?
I don't.
What sort of equity was granted to?
I don't believe that I will be in a position to answer that. As I've answered here, that is probably the company secretary.
Yes.
And the representative of the shareholders can.
Yes.
So from our vantage point as directors, I know you cannot have more than one thing, shareholder. So that means KMC needed, for that company's registration to be valid, needed to have multiple shareholders. KMC had not identified a new partner after Nofly fell out. What KMT was actually, which was reported to the board, was actively doing was finding new partners. And
for just for the purposes of clarity,
yes,
who were these other partners that were allotted aside from Senghore Martin?
I do not know who was allotted. From my understanding, as I said, is the shares that Nofly couldn't take up, KMT took up. KMC took up to what they could, but they would have also needed to find another person who would be a shareholder by law. So as to
Well,
the...
that was done.
Yes.
That was done by KMT.
KMC, yes, not KMT. Because KMC is the shareholder.
Yes.
So I think what is important to clarify and is that what are the roles of shareholders, what are the roles of directors. So if you look at the legal role and by the Companies Act, which you know more than me, is the equity allotments, these are shareholders' decisions, and decisions are made at shareholder meetings, and shareholder resolutions have to be passed.
I have gotten the clarification I want.
Thank you.
So, as a board,
Yes.
did you receive any information, or did you receive any memo?
Yes.
Or a resolution from council allotting these shares? That is from KMC. I'm referring to now.
Yes.
For allotting some of their shares. Did you receive any documentation?
Yes, because there was an amended articles and mems and acts, so that was shared with the board.
Yes. Upon receipt of these documents.
Yes.
Did you have any reason to look at the allotment of the shares that they did?
Yes.
With a view to advising, as a board, with a view to advising the directors or the shareholders on the potential issues of conflict?
No, so we didn't advise. Yes, you're right. I looked at reviewed the revised articles and memos, and there was an allotment that was done to the CEO, which is former CEO, Senabu Martin Sonko. Yes. We did not, as a board, formally question or raise any issue with this. We were not involved in it, and to answer your question specifically, we did not question it as a thing.
Why?
Why? Because firstly, maybe it's something ex ante that one should have looked at, but potentially I do not want to speak to that and our role, but I'll have to. But I think, again, it's to my point that I answered early. The understanding that we all had, and this is the level of the directors, was that any such arrangement that was temporary, because KMC was actively, which was a process that we were involved in, actively seeking to find a partner who would eventually take up those shares. So that the understanding that was given to the board was a temporary arrangement until a partner could be found. So really this was our understanding. Yes, whether it was right.
But
yes, go ahead.
I can understand what you're explaining.
Yes.
But legally speaking,
yes,
you know, there is nowhere that you could indicate in your resolutions,
yes,
when you're filing,
yes,
for shares that have been allotted to new allottees, that this is just temporal, you know.
Yes, I know.
You know.
Yes.
So by you explaining that it is your understanding,
yes,
legally,
yes,
what could be seen and what is construed to be the correct position of what is happening with the company,
yes,
is what is presented and is what is registered. Is that not correct?
Yes, but again.
So now let me just ask my last question before I get back to the council. You've talked about the issue of the 10 million.
Yes.
My question is that you had said there were some equities that the council, that is KMC, wanted to use as its contribution, or actually used as its contribution. That is, it valued the annexed, and it looked at the what is it, the monument, and there is a third one that you mentioned, which I cannot.
It was those two.
It was
the other one was a cash. Yes. Consideration, so, yes.
And these were valued.
Yes.
These were valued.
Yes.
And for the annex and the monument,
yes,
you know, I believe that exceeded the 10 million that KMC was supposed to bring on the table, yes, as its contribution,
yes,
for you to be able to have the requisite funding
Yes.
as part of the project. Is that correct? To kickstart the process.
Yes, the value.
If they had come up with the 10 million. So now my question is, having those collaterals, why didn't you use those to generate, to take those ones as guarantee to the bank, for the bank to fund?
Okay, thank you for that. So I can clarify.
Is that not a possibility?
No, it wasn't, because those assets were never on the company's books. So as I outlined earlier,
Yes, but
KMC...
this way, sorry for interrupting you, but this way, you agree with me that these were assets owned by KMC, right?
No, they were not. No, they were not.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was a...
The annex was not...
It was a... Look at it this way, Madam Chair. It was a pledge from KMC that KMC did not manage to realize. Okay. So the monument was a pledge. Okay. Right? A pledge that, for KMC, it would have needed to recover title. From my understanding and the reports that came to the board, that they had started the process with the Ministry of Lands. So they would have first needed to recover that title and then formally pledge it. And then there would have needed to be another transfer of title to KMT. This was never done. So the processes for that started, but were never completed.
What about the annex?
The annex, same. So the annex, it was, what would have been conceptualized would have been a rent agreement. But the purpose of the annex was, so the annex was just a rent agreement. It would not have been capital to the thing. It was just the amount that was capitalized, the payment. But the annex was for the purpose of using it as a central garage. So that agreement was never concretized because we never did the fleet order. So if he had started operations, that annex, that arrangement would have been concretized. So, but the only hard capital that potentially could have been pledged as collateral would have been the monument. But also, the board itself took a firm resolution that we were not going to pledge any assets to a bank. So the board was only specifically looking, in all my time, we were looking for asset financing. That's the only structure that the board approved and was comfortable with. That we would find a financier, KMC will put some, and then the financier will purchase the buses, hold title to the buses until payment was done, and then the buses will be transferred. So all the loan applications that were submitted was for an asset financing instead of pledging official collateral.
So I will be correct to say that even though the intention was great and
yes.
was good,
yes.
but due diligence was not done when the company was incorporated.
Well, I cannot answer to that because, as I outlined earlier, in all of those pre-formation processes, I was not a party to that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Council, you may proceed.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Now, you explained that I believe the board appointed the executive branch, correct?
That's correct.
When was this? Do you recall?
So after Zakaria Sow left, Mr. Zakaria Sow, we had an interim arrangement with a gentleman called Mr. Bakari Singate. Yes. He was, I believe, at the time, the Mbalit manager. So because we needed someone to help steer the affairs of the company, it was a recommendation from KMC, the shareholder, that he was someone who could potentially support in view of his experience at Mbalit. So he was given a short-term contract to help oversee the company as well. And to his credit, he was very effective in his role, and really a lot of the deliverables that we can speak of was done under his tenure as well. Yes.
Did you roll out any advertisement for the members of the executive branch?
Yes, we did.
Do you have copies of those?
Yes, so all of that can be documents that can be provided by the company secretary. We did various recruitment rounds. I think we tried recruiting twice. So after Bakari left, we also did another round where we recruited another general manager. His name was by the person of Mr. Amadou Drame, formerly of GTSC. So when I was leaving, by the time I left the board, he was the general manager at post.
And how many staff, do you recall?
It was just one staff. One staff, yes. Because again, as I outlined, the company had started operating. So really the board was took a firm position not to burden the company with any costs until we secured an order, a fleet order.
How was the remuneration of the general manager determined? Do you recall?
Yes, so we engaged the services of a recruitment company that handled the process. And part of that was they did a salary survey and, based and provided recommendations. And there's documentation supporting all of this, which can
and what is the company that you...
I believe it was called Jobs Consulting.
Jobs Consulting.
Yes, so it was an RFP we had a number of companies who bid, but Job Consulting was the preferred candidate that handled that, yes.
And they determined the remuneration of the general
Yes, so they did a survey and then they submitted recommendations for the consideration of the board, which the board subsequently approved, yes.
So the executive only comprised of one individual?
Yes.
And that individual is directly answerable to the board?
Yes.
Okay. Now, was he reporting all activities that he was engaged in to the board effectively?
Well, at least with the reporting structures that we had set up, yes, we'd feel that at least we'll get regular, because as I mentioned in the beginning, we were meeting monthly as a board, right? Because we wanted to maintain momentum. So on a monthly basis, there was regular reporting coming in. Once we started meeting at a lower cadence, it was quarterly.
In writing or?
Yeah, so we have board papers submitted, board minutes, all of these things, board agendas in line with the provisions of the Companies Act. So definitely I'm very comfortable in the governance arrangements of KMT. We'll stand up to any standard. So all of that documentation is available to the Commission, I believe, and can be provided by the Secretariat.
Now we have a loan facility that was sent to the Managing Director of Zenith Bank, but this was in 2023. During your time, I believe it is signed by, yes, this is your time, Alieu Badara Senghore.
Yes.
Let me just show you. Mr. Senghore, you're not allowed to do that? Mr. Senghore? Mr. Senghore?
My apologies, lead counsel. I was actually asking her if she could quietly ask you for a quick bathroom break. Sorry. I didn't want to do that on mic. Sorry.
Break, right. Thank you.
We can take a break now and come back after lunch break, which will give him the opportunity to ease himself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you.